The world's economy is hanging by a thread of glass, 4 miles under the Atlantic Ocean. Now, declassified memos from early 2026 are confirming that specialized deep-sea drones are positioned near key fiber optic junctions.
And no, this isn't some conspiracy theory. This is a strategic blueprint for a global kill switch.
And what is it targeting? We're talking about $12 trillion in daily financial transactions that flow through this network. It's the physical backbone of the entire global economy.
All right, so let's break down the intelligence on this new form of asymmetric warfare. And we're going to start with the primary target.
Look, to really get what's at stake here, you have to understand just how massive this infrastructure vulnerability actually is.
So what are we really talking about? Well, at its core, an undersea cable is basically just a bundle of glass fibers. Each one is as thin as a human hair, and they're often inside a casing that's no wider than your garden hose. These incredibly fragile strands, they form the nervous system of our entire digital world.
And here's the crucial part. About 97% of all international data travels through them. That underpins, well, everything, from our financial markets all the way to military command and control. So you might be thinking, what about satellites, right? Well, there is no viable backup. That's a common myth. Satellites simply do not have the capacity or the speed to replace this network. It's not even close. And that makes these cables an irreplaceable single point of failure for the modern world.
You know, this idea of targeting undersea infrastructure, it's not new, not at all. In fact, there's a declassified historical precedent for this exact kind of thing.
We have to go back to the Cold War. There was a covert U.S. operation that demonstrated just how possible it was to compromise another nation's undersea communications.
It was called Operation Ivy Bells, and it proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that seabed infrastructure could be physically accessed and exploited by a determined state actor. It was, essentially, the proof of concept for the mess we're in today.
And now, that same Cold War playbook is being actively used by new adversaries.
The difference is today's operations are happening in what's called the gray zone. These are hostile, state-sponsored actions designed to fly just under the radar of conventional warfare. It gives them plausible deniability, so acts of sabotage can just be disguised as accidents. And that makes attribution and retaliation incredibly difficult.
Don't believe me? Just look at the pattern. A clear history of disruption has already emerged. We're seeing Chinese and Russian-linked vessels repeatedly implicated in cable damage, and it's always happening in these really strategic choke points.
Let's be very clear about this. These are not random events. Intelligence analysis concludes that these are probes, designed specifically to test Allied response times and our capability to even figure out who did it. And the asset deployment by these rival powers is incredibly sophisticated. We are talking about specialized military units like Russia's GUGI conducting covert operations under the perfect cover of just normal civilian maritime activity.
So, all of this, it brings us to the end game. The strategic objective behind all these moves is crystal clear, and it's decisive.
What we're looking at is a coordinated, multi-location strike. It's designed to function as a global kill switch, crippling an adversary's economy and their military command and control right at the very outset of a major conflict. This quote just illustrates the point perfectly. Our entire technological supremacy, everything from artificial intelligence to global finance, is completely, wholly dependent on this one fragile network.
Which leaves us with the final unanswered question. What happens to society when the screen goes black forever? And are we remotely prepared for that imminent reality?